Okay, I'm now going to show you how to start filling in some of these small sections that are left between the navy outline. So again, these are going to be worked in satin stitch, so it helps you continue to perfect that stitch. So if you follow the key, it will tell you which threads to use in which sections. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill in this section just here, which is with the beige stranded cotton. So you're going to use 2 strands of it. You can watch my video on how to separate the strands of cotton. And you also need to start your thread, so you need to thread your needle and put a knot in the end, and again you can follow that on my other tutorials. So we're going to follow exactly the same direction of stitch as we did for the navy, so whichever direction you picked, we're just going to continue with that. So we're going to start in the middle of the shape. So this is really important because it helps you to keep your direction consistent throughout. If you start at one edge, it's much more difficult to make sure you're still going in the same direction at the end of the shape. Whereas if you start in the middle, that first stitch gives you a good guideline to follow this way and the other way. So we're going to start along the bottom edge, really close to the navy. So it's really important that you get the beginning of that stitch right up against your navy stitching. Otherwise you're going to have little gaps and you're going to have bits of yellow peeping through. So it's just important that you make sure that they are close. You can then pull through the fabric, and we're going to do exactly the same as we did laying down the navy. So you can see that this changes the direction, and we want to go in this direction so we're in line with all the navy stitching. So we're going to go down through the fabric around there. So once you've pulled it through, that is your first stitch of this colour, and that's going to be your guideline stitch for the rest. So I'm going to continue working in this direction first. So again, remember, we're looping around. So we're coming up through the fabric at the bottom of the shape, down through the fabric at the top, and we're looping the thread round, up and down around the fabric. So we're going to come up right next to that first stitch. Make sure you keep it nice and close so that you don't get any gapping. You're then going to go down right next to it at the top. So your stitches are going to sit side by side, and you're just going to continue doing that all the way along the shape until you reach this edge. Okay, so you can see that the stitch has got a lot smaller towards the end just because of the shape that we're filling in. So now that I'm happy that I've reached the end here and all my yellow is covered, I'm now going to continue from the centre working out this way so that we're going to fill the whole shape. So we're going to do exactly the same again. We're going to come up right next to where we started that first stitch, but rather than coming up on the right hand side, we're going to come up on the left hand side. And then we're going to go back through on the left hand side of where we started that, finished that first stitch. Okay, so we're basically just going to continue all the way down exactly as we did on the other side. Okay, I'm now happy that I've completely filled that section. So I'm going to tie off my thread on the back, and then I'm going to proceed with the next section. So the next section that I'm going to do is this section here. So this section is in cream, as you can see in the key. And your cream and your turquoise colours, which are here, are actually crewel wool. So this we're going to work with in exactly the same as the stranded cotton. We're going to use it for satin stitch, but you do not need to separate your strands because we're going to use a full full strand of the thread, and it's a lot kind of fluffier, and it just gives you a completely different texture to the stranded cotton, which I really like. But we're going to work it in exactly the same way. It will fill up quicker just because the thread is a bit thicker, but I think that's really nice, a really nice contrast. So we're going to do the same again. We're going to come up right next to where our navy finishes at the bottom of the shape. And then we're going to go back through the fabric, right next to where the navy is, at the top of the shape. All the time following the same line, the same angle. Then we're going to come up right next to it and lay another stitch down right beside it. And we're going to continue doing that. All the way to the edge of the shape. So on this one, our stitches are actually going to get a bit longer just because the yellow section's longer. So it's really interesting just to fill all of the different shapes. Okay, now I'm happy that I've covered all the yellow up to that section. We're going to continue from this direction. So we're going to start along the bottom again, and we're going to lay the stitch down right next to that very first stitch that we did in this section. And we're just going to continue along the line until we've filled the whole shape. Okay, I'm now happy that shape has been filled. So what I'm going to do is move on to the next section and show you how to add some beads like I have into this bit here.